I want to hear about your Mount Rushmore of high school athletes that made the biggest impact in our community.
Davis out of South Meck was really good. Antoine Jameson. And he was the quickest jumper. With him, boom, it was immediate.
Caleb Serat.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Leak. Jameson Crowder.
Sam Howell right now.
Hunter Tyson.
Byron Denkins, who played at UNC Charlotte. He was hitting the NBA three-pointers. Challenging interview I ever did was Muhammad Ali. It was the last time I was nervous around an athlete. He bends down, so his ear's right next to my mouth. I had nothing.
Welcome back to Born Southern, everybody. Today's guest, we have Mr. Tom Sorensen. He is a legend in journalism. He's been our sports guy in Charlotte and surrounding area for over 35 years, probably.
35.
Radio, all kind of stuff. So welcome to Born Southern, Tom.
Good to have you, Tom.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for having me.
One big question we always have, because I guess everybody wants a measuring stick growing up, and so we've had some outstanding athletes, Charlotte, surrounding areas, out here in Union County. And today we want to hear about your Mount Rushmore of high school athletes, whether they went on major college and pros, but just that made the biggest impact that you felt like in our community over the years. So if you've got men's and women's, we'd love to hear it all.
The high school athletes I wrote about mainly were underdogs. I would go to a coach and say, do you have a guy on your team who shows up early, who stays late, who works really hard, but is not a star? So nobody's heard of those guys. Almost none of them played college ball, but they were really good stories.
Good people.
I remember one guy who played for Tommy Knotts at Independence High, and I'm 5'9", and I would have posted this guy up. And I said, how big are you? He said, I'm 5'7". He said, what do you weigh? He said, are you going to write this down? I said, yeah. And he said, 135 pounds. And the coach said, Tom, if I'd known he would 135, I wouldn't have played him. He's going to get hurt. But this guy was taping the interview. And I said, man, this is good tape. You know who's on there? Steve Smith Sr., I think the greatest Panther of all time. And Tanya Harding. She was in town on a tour. I thought the guy'd be excited. He was a receiver, and Steve Smith was a great receiver. He said, man, Tanya Harding is on that tape. Can I hear her?
Oh, my goodness.
But it was a lot of guys like that. It wasn't the superstars in high school. In college it was, in the pros it was. But I've always liked underdogs, which is one reason I like boxing.
Sure, I think everybody loves the underdog, So give me three of the greatest athletes that you think came out of our area.
Boy, I guess you can't call Michael Jordan because he came out of Wilmington. He was born in Brooklyn. Trying to think, Davis out of South Meck was really good. I'm trying to think of, Antoine Jameson. He moved up here from Shreveport, Louisiana when he was younger and played at South Meck. And he was the quickest jumper. I mean, there were guys that jumped higher, but with him, boom, it was immediate. Also a really, really nice guy, which matters to me. Right. And he wasn't hung up on himself, which matters to me. The guy named Byron Denkins, who played at UNC Charlotte, Charlotte now.
I was at Charlotte when he was there. Yeah.
I watched a high school game, and he was hitting the NBA three-pointers. He had range. He wasn't a great overall player. He was a good overall player, but man, could he shoot that ball. And you could tell. And Cedric Cornbird Maxwell did not grow up here. He grew up in Kinston. But, he played at UNC Charlotte.
Right.
And he was staying at one time. Remember Henry Williams?
Yeah.
Henry Williams is a great guard. And Cornbird was standing next to him. And I said, hey, look over there. It's the greatest player in Charlotte history. And Cornbird Maxwell. He said, Sorensen, I'm going to get you for this.
Hank was a left-hander, wasn't he? He called him Hank, not Henry. He came after Byron.
He did.
At UNCC.
And he was good. And he never quite made it in the NBA, but he made it big in Italy. Made a lot of money and was just a good ball player. Another guy who was a good guy. And Cedric Cornbread, had that great career with the Celtics. And he too was good.
And the Currys were Charlotte Christian, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Currys, I mean, you got this. I don't know how big you can get than that.
I remember a guy that got a lot of heat for a long time and then went on to Florida. But I think he made it in the CFL, but not the NFL, was Chris Leak. Remember, they had that 45 or 50 game winning streak through his career. And I remember seeing just back in the day when we had paper articles, he got a lot of hype, and he seemed like a really good dude with a really nice family.
Wow.
Wasn't a big guy, but he was almost like a point guard. I mean, he would orchestrate that offense at independence, and he was thinking ahead of everybody else. Curry's, it's funny because they wanted to go to Virginia Tech, where their dad played. Virginia Tech wasn't interested. And so their staff at Davidson, working under Bob McKillop. And McKillop is a teacher. You spend 5 minutes around Bob McKillop, and it's like you want to play for him. You want to dive on the floor for him. You want to guard somebody for him. And Seth was the same thing. Seth really wanted to play Virginia Tech. Coach said, well, he's not good enough. So he started at Lynchburg and then transferred to Duke, and he's had a long NBA career. Because like all Currys, he walked in the gym, he's within shooting range.
That's right.
That's right. So you mentioned Tommy Knox.
Yeah.
All right. So that was another question I had. Like some of the best coaches that we've had that have affected so many kids over the years. So before Knox went to Independence, one of my former coaches was there, Rusty Jester.
Yeah, I know of Rusty.
And so he was hardcore on us when we were younger. But I almost followed him to Independence, but. He was a good one, Coach Jester and Knox. And who else do you think was in a?
Man, there's so many of them. There was a baseball coach at South Mac, whom I know and kind of retired there. And he, like a lot of coaches, try to stay away. It doesn't work. You go back to
right.
it. Knox is a guy I think of because his offense was so sophisticated. And normally I liked being in the field, but for Knox, I liked being in the press box. I could look down and try to get a feel for what they were doing. They were running a college offense.
I was going to say, that's a different level.
Yep.
And he made, Leak was a talented guy anyway, but under Knox, he just thrived.
What do any females come to mind that off the top of your head that were just kind of stood out over everybody?
Yeah, there's some really good women basketball players. And as soon as I walk out of here, their names will all come to me at once.
I'll put you on the spot.
No, it's a fair question, and it would be a fair answer if I could come up with it. But there were some really talented women high school players, and high school basketball for women was just coming into its own.
Right.
For a long time, women haven't had a chance, haven't had that shot, and then suddenly track, tennis, basketball.
I'm ready for professional softball for women. When my kids were in school. So I had a daughter. They were state champion. Both our daughters were on the same team. They won the state championship. My son was playing baseball, and so my wife and I would argue about who got to go watch the girls softball and who had to go watch the baseball. So that's I'm looking forward to that because there's some top-notch softball girls out there, buddy. I mean, it's entertaining. It's great.
I would much rather watch a ladies' college softball game than a men's college baseball game. Typically, now you're going to get those good games sometimes with the men that are just elite, but the girls on that small field, it's amazing how they make stuff happen because it seems like they're playing in a cracker box.
Right. So. What's the guy's name? He's from Union County. I think he went to Monroe, didn't he? That he broke Walter Payton's college rushing record.
And he fumbled.
No, they snapped the ball over the quarterback's head, and he fell on the ball. So he lost like 9 yards and ended up losing the title by like 3 yards or something like that.
Is this a guy from Elmore who went to NC State?
He was a Monroe. He went to Monroe.
I think.
Yeah, and he played for the Steelers, my favorite team. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on him, but
one of his kids I think was over at Metrolina, or either we played against them at Metrolina Christian because I saw him.
I know who you mean.
Yeah,
you know who you mean.
Yeah,
I'll tell you before we leave. I'll bet. But
Monroe's put they put some guys in the NFL. Jameson Crowder 15, 17-year career. I don't know how long he played. And
Sam Howell now.
Sun Valley boy. Yeah.
And Sam just got traded, didn't he?
He's with the Cowboys. His dad's favorite team growing up.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
Man, I'm pulling for that boy. You talk about a good human being. So, and one of his dad's best friends was telling us this story, but they said that they went to watch him at one of the home games, and it was like Sam's first year starting. And so they had food in there for the players and the parents and stuff. So they said they got in there and they were like, "Where's Sam at?" And so they couldn't find him anywhere. Well, they asked some of the players, they said, "Where's Sam? Where's Howell at?" They said, "Oh, he's out back." And so they opened the door up, and he had invited like 3 or 4 of his buddies from Sun Valley that he played ball with in school. That they were just happy to be there. They were kids; they didn't have any money. And so Sam had got a big plate and went out back and was sharing with his buddies so everybody could eat. So
that's a good guy.
That meant a lot to hear that to me. Like that made me really respect him more than the football. And he's a great.
Another thing about Sam, he had a lot of schools, saying, "Hey, if you come sophomore year, come now, you'll win 2 or 3 state championships with us." Bigger schools, and he stuck with his guys he grew up playing with in middle school, and he even in middle school he wanted to stay with the same group of guys, so he would get off the bus and walk back to Sun Valley and put on like a sweatsuits or whatever and run the bleachers to keep his weight down. And this is like a 7th grade kid, he just had that dedication, and it shows. I mean, it's really, he had the genetics. Now you have to have that, but he put in the effort. And the guy's name we're talking about is Richard Huntley.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard.
Yeah.
But that was he broke Walter Payton's record during his last game. The ball snapped over the quarterback's head or something. I can't remember exactly. Richard goes, instead of kicking it out of bounds or whatever, he goes back, falls on the ball, and loses however many yards. Ended up losing the title by 3 yards, which is, hey, that says a lot for him. Like still playing for his team,
Does say a lot for him.
Yeah,
that's right. And Sun Valley, quick shout out to Michael Macchiavelli. He just won the U.S. Open wrestling, so he sure did. He's a stud. I actually got to be with him on the mat a lot when he was in high school. So and talk about another great kid. What a great Christian athlete he is, and gives back like nobody you've ever seen to the other kids. So, let's move on to some more Tom Sorensen though. So you've been with WFNZ with John Boy and Billy I think you was it PG or
WBT.
BT, yeah. So I know you've been through a lot of that. So how did all that come about? Tell us a little bit about your experiences on radio.
Well, some guys knew me from the newspaper. I grew up in Minneapolis. Dad worked for the newspaper in Minneapolis, and I couldn't fix stuff. I couldn't make stuff. My grandfather was a pharmacist. He owned a drugstore. I wanted to be that, but people would have died. I just don't have those skills. So I majored in journalism and worked for a newspaper in Minnesota, covering news, worked in Minneapolis covering news. And this is my first sports job. I like sports, 1, but 2, you got more freedom, and which I wanted. And some of the radio guys had heard me or had read me in the newspaper. And John Boyd just became a friend. I ran into him, of all places, in a bar one night. And we started talking. He said, "Man, will you come in the next day and talk about this?" And I said, "Yeah." And so that just started. And I asked him once, he bought a house in eastern North Carolina. He was saying, "Tom, it's great. There's only one stoplight in the whole county." I said, "Man, how many houses do you own?" He had 8. I said, "You need 2 hands?" He said, "What, 8?" Yeah. He bought his mom's house, but he was a humble guy, which means so much to me. Right. There's a lot of pretension in radio, not in this building, but in some other ones. But John Boyd, just a great guy. But we had fun, and you pick football games, tell bad jokes, you get paid.
Absolutely.
You and when I growing up, I was talking to Mike earlier. It wasn't that uncommon for us both of us to make the local paper in athletics, but it was always a big deal if we got a mention in the Observer and the Charlotte paper. And I remember just my thoughts on that whole era. Two names, your name and Harold Johnson.
Right.
You had the paper and Harold had the TV coverage for the big guy,
That's
and
right.
The big guy.
just two icons to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I reached out to Tom, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago about an event we were bringing to the area. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous too, because the same thing. I was like, Tom Sorensen, he was the man to me, so. Yeah. But we met over at Red Rocks, John Love's place.
We hit it off right away.
I mean, I don't think I've ever just met somebody like that I was expecting to be not talked down to, but looked over probably. But you're
a lot taller, man.
You made a mark on me through that, not anything to do with sports, but just the person you are and how kind you were to me and willing to help when. It's sometimes it's tough getting people on board. When the ship's at the dock, nobody wants to get on it. But as soon as it starts taking off, it's easy. But just like this, we appreciate you coming
promoted
here.
The best boxing card I've seen in Charlotte. I got to know Christy Martin pretty well, former women's champ, lightweight champ. And Miriam and I would go to, I guess you can't see her. She is off camera.
Yes.
But girlfriend, and we cut a deal. She'd go to boxing with me if I went to ballet with her.
That's a good deal.
And it was interesting. I learned a lot. But your boxing card was so good, man. I love that card. And you did such a good job with it.
Oh, it really was a good kid. Well, when you got Roy Jones Jr., then everybody is willing to take those fights. The problem with boxing in North Carolina is that everybody's trying to protect their guy. They're trying to get you to 12, 15-0 so you can go get a money shot. But the problem is you don't, iron sharpens iron. Yep. And so in Charlotte and the surrounding, there are some great fighters. I mean, there's some great ones, but there's not enough of them. So, it's hard to get these local promoters to match make really good fights. Now, when as soon as I made mention that Roy Jones Jr. is headlining, all of a sudden, I'll take anybody. Well, there you go. I've been waiting on this all these years, And man, there was some, unbelievable fights that night. Quinton Rampage Rankin.
I wrote about him.
Q. That's what he called
Q. The first fight I brought Miriam to, girlfriend, was one of Quinton's fights. And she looked at him. She's an artist. She said, can I draw you? And I'm thinking, not on his body. You can do a picture of him. That's it. But Quinton said, look, if you're a friend of Tom's, you're a friend of mine. Quinton was a good fighter, and that was kind of his coming out. People didn't know about him until that card. That was such a good card.
And I'm going to tell you, so the people, if you weren't there, you don't know this, but he got knocked down. Like that, the guy he was fighting out of Florida was an up and coming, they thought he was going to be a superstar. And Q, I'm getting cold chills right now. The guy came out and Q came at him. The guy put him on his butt right at the gate. And he looked, I looked, and he looked at me, he went, and it right back up. And I was like, come on, man, I'm the promoter, so I'm not supposed to be pulling for anybody.
You get to pull for the guy. Yeah.
But I'm sitting there in my mind, I'm like, Lord, please, please let this be Q's time. And what?
It was.
Oh, that was might have been one of the best fights I've ever seen.
I would agree with you. It's certainly live. And he had the crowd behind him, and he's a boxer and he's a puncher, and he was just good. And the other guy was good.
He was, it was great matchup. The whole card was just great matchups, unlike what we witnessed on Netflix this past weekend. That was terrible. I don't know who came up with that.
I don't know who's going to rescue modern boxing. It's turned into a celebrity popularity type thing, not the sweet science that it's supposed to be.
All that influencer crap. I mean, what do you do for a living? I'm an influencer. Yeah, but what do you do for a living? Yeah. It's passed me by.
It's tough. It's really tough.
It's become entertainment more than a sport to me.
Right. Yeah. And it's not, it's a gathering. It's a party. It's so we went down to Texas when Jake Paul and Tyson fought down there.
Yeah.
And we knew what we were going to see. Everybody knew what we were going to see, but we went anyway, you know. So paid more per ticket than we've ever paid for anything, like not even close, you know. Well, we were right down there, and funny story about that, like we were like probably 7 rows from the ring maybe, and there was a big walkway right between us and the VIPs right there. So it's me, Chris, and Butterbean. so we the you know, roughest and toughest brawl guys are out here. We got on our best shirts, you know, and we give, and you would not believe, like the venue staff had to come down there 3 or 4 times and disperse people because they were building a lineup. I was just a photographer. We were taking pictures of Butterbean the whole time. Everybody wanted to get their picture made with him. He's an icon now, you know. So,
and he didn't have on any kind of Butterbean type clothes. And he's older, but they all recognize him.
How old is he?
He's 59, 58.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So, you know, and I don't know if you know his whole story, but he was in a wheelchair and over 5. He just gave up. He'll tell you he just gave up. And Diamond Dallas Page called him over there, and he got him straightening back up, got him out of the wheelchair, and man, he actually lived in Diamond Dallas's house for like 4 months. Yeah. Diamond took him in and got him back on his feet.
Did they know each other before?
They probably knew of each other,
but they weren't close.
I don't think.
And
so.
I don't think there's anybody that was involved in Hollywood or sports in the '80s, late '80s and '90s that Butterbean didn't know. When you go to his restaurant in Jasper,
right,
there are thousands of pictures of him with every celebrity, whether it's female, whether it's, you know, racing sports, movies, other boxers, football players. I mean, it's impressive to me. I mean, he knows everybody.
And I think that one of the things about him that makes people want to see about him, because he does not care. He's going to do what he wants to do. We finished up a fight in Rainsville, Alabama this past year. And so our whole staff goes over to Waffle House afterwards to eat. And we come out, and Butterbean come in with his, with his wife, and so we're all sitting there, and we go walking out. He had pulled his RV up and parked at the front door, and I'm talking about, you couldn't get around him, but who was going to say anything? You know?
Yeah.
But so John Boy and Billy, the Charlotte Observer, FNZ, all this stuff. You've seen it from no pro sports at all here. Yeah. To George Shinn coming in, which I want you to touch on that a little bit, sure. and Jerry Richardson coming in and bringing the Panthers, and so now we're people see that we will support, now. So if you got time, tell us all about all that, the George Shinn days and the Richardsons, and how that all progressed.
When I moved here, the 2 sports were 3 sports: NASCAR, AA baseball, and pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And it just took off. And the way it grew was, it was wrestling first. And Ric Flair's from a suburb of Minneapolis. Sorry to fly me.
Welcome to Born Southern.
Okay.
That's right.
And the Fly was too. Fly's from around here.
Just don't step in that raccoon trap we got outside the door. You'll be all right.
But Flair, we just hit it off. And he's a friend of this day. We still talk. The cool thing about the wrestlers was they never said no comment. I mean, they always talked. They always were, they wanted attention.
Right.
And Dusty Rhodes and Flair and all those guys. And it was a lot of fun. And then Shinn came along, and he wanted the NBA. But Shinn had money, and he had Rick Hendrick, and he had Cy Bayheckel, and he had Felix Abadis, all credible, all with money. And the NBA looks in the map. There's not a pro franchise between D.C. and Atlanta, and this area is growing. So Shinn pushes and pushes, and George, for a long time, we did not get along. We do now. But he is a natural salesman, and he could sell Butterbean. You got to see this guy in a swimsuit. I mean, he just could sell.
Yeah.
And he sold the NBA. And then Richardson came in, NBA came in 88, and it was funny. They won 20 games their first season, and Charlotte responded with a parade. They won 20 games. They led the NBA in attendance. That's pretty cool. And they were the forerunner for a place like Oklahoma City, which is thriving now. And Richardson came in 95. He played in the NFL, and he got the franchise, not Charlotte. He could have put it in Spartanburg. He would have been a fool. He could have put it in Columbia. He put it here. And he changed his image. I mean, he was Jerry, he liked to have a good time. And then he was Mr. Richardson. But we got to be friends. He didn't like everything I wrote, but that's a trick of my business. You can't write to make people like you. Right. Sometimes you want them to like you. If you don't like the guy, you almost want him not to like you. But the trick is, if you criticize like a Panther, even if I was off the next day, I would go into the locker room. Otherwise, it would just grow and grow and grow. And dislike could become contempt, and contempt could become hate. So you go in the locker room, they take their shot at you. They might not like you, but you do it. And same with the Hornets. First game of the season, Larry Johnson was really mad at me because I wrote that Hornets should trade Kendall Gill. And he went to our beat writer and he said, he has no right to say that. The beat writer said, yeah, he does. He's a columnist. You can express an opinion. First game of the season, first of 41 home games, I go to Larry Johnson's locker. He says, what's up, blank? I'm going to say blank. He said, what's up, blank? How you doing, blank? And I thought, you know what? This could be a long season. But you had to keep going. And it's not like I'm a brave guy, and it's not like I intimidate him. Ooh, Tom's 5'9", was 170 pounds. I better get out of his way.
That's right.
But Larry was small for his position, but he's a whole lot bigger than me. But, you know, most of those guys are respectful. There are just some great interviews, man. Muggsy and Dell for the Hornets, and Rex Chapman for the Hornets, and guys people don't remember, like Kenny Gaddison for the Hornets.
Oh, yeah.
And for the Panthers, Steve Smith Sr., it depends what mood you catch him in. He can be great. Greg Olson was always really good. And they both started foundations, have done a lot of good work for people, as has Thomas Davis. And Josh Norman, remember him, played at Coastal Carolina?
Right, yeah.
We just hit it off. And he got in a fight with Cam Newton at camp. I took Josh's side. I like underdogs. And what Josh would do to pump himself up for a game, he'd watch a Gladiator movie. If it was a low-level game, he'd watch like a regular Gladiator movie. It was a big game, he'd watch the Gladiator. If he really needed to pump himself up, he'd watch 300.
I knew you were going to say
I told him, I said, I never seen 300. He was offended. What? You never seen it? What's wrong with you? So I watched 300, and I texted him. All right. No, I put out on a post. I said, all right, Josh was right. 300 was good. 5 seconds later, I told you. But, it was just cool to see a pro athlete sitting by himself, watching a Gladiator movie, getting pumped up. And there were some good guys. And Jerry Richardson, we got close. He needed one guy in the media he could trust.
Right.
And not that who would play up to him and deify him, but who wouldn't lie to him. And if I lied my dad's passed, if I lied, he'd come back and get me, and he should. So Jerry and I hit it off, and he was interesting guy. He really wanted to be liked. He really wanted to. One time he was talking about a TV guy who didn't like him, and I said, why do you care? He pounded the table with his fist and said, 'cause I care. And Flair was the same way. Flair really wanted to be liked. With Flair, I tried for at least 10 years to buy him a drink. And it's like if the bartender let me pay, Flair would put him in a figure 4 leg lock. So I never paid one time. I don't know if Rick paid either, but I never paid. I know
that's
that.
up for debate.
Going back to Larry Johnson, because I was a big guy coming up, not that big, not that kind of height, but like with the wrestling, with football, with basketball, everything. I like the bigger guys. They were like superheroes kind of to me. And so, I don't know, Larry's probably my age. He's probably not even older than me, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is how good would he have been take away that back injury?
Oh, he would have been elite for a while. I mean, he was 6'5". I saw him walking out with a guard, and they were the same height. But he could jump to the roof. He'd boxed. I said, what was your style like? And I was being sarcastic. I just dick and move. He said, no, man, I just went after the guy. If he got me, good. If I got him, good. But he and Alonzo Mourning did not hit it off. They each wanted to be the guy, and Kendall Gill wanted to be the guy. And that team just broke apart. They had potential.
I remember when Alonzo got traded, like the first game they played against each other when they were coming across the court, and Alonzo threw his shoulder. I think it was Alonzo that initiated it.
I think
they threw his shoulder hard into Larry, and they about got into a fight.
Oh, they had to be separated.
But the thing about Larry, they said he was 6'7", but he didn't look 6'7". But he kind of reminded me of a forerunner of Julius Peppers, even though Julius wasn't as talented in basketball as Larry was. It's a bodybuilder playing basketball. You know, I mean, the guy looked like a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, and that made it okay. So you got all this other stuff going on for you, and you're a hell of a basketball player. You know,
yeah.
We're talking about interviews real quick. The most challenging interview I ever did was Muhammad Ali, because he came to Charlotte for a Parkinson's fundraiser. There's a really active Race for the Cure in both Carolinas. And it was the last time I was nervous around an athlete. He was late because he told the driver that picked him up in a big white SUV, and he said, I want to see a black neighborhood. So went through there, and then he went to the Duke Mansion. And one of the organizers said, would you like Mr. Ali's autograph? And I said, I've seen too many kids pushed aside. And obviously in the Duke Mansion, kids were getting pushed aside. But I said, thank you, but no. And the woman said, would you like to ask Mr. Ali a question? I said, I'd be honored. So I went in the dining room. I've been in the kitchen. And 20 seconds later, I sent somebody behind me. And I'm thinking, please don't be Ali. I don't have a question. It was Ali. And right away, he's 6'3", and he bends down, so his ear's right next to my mouth. And I said, Mr. Ali, it's an honor to ask you a question. I had nothing, because I couldn't say, who's your best opponent? You could Google that. How'd you come up with the rope-a-dope? You could Google that. So I'd said, what's the secret to living a good life? So Ali stands back up to his full height, stands about 30 seconds, bends back down. He says, believe in God. And he walked away. And then later he came up and he was pretending to take money out of people's ears. And he did that to me. But I thought that was a really cool moment, because here's a guy, my dad was a huge boxing fan. So here's a guy. We went to see I'm a lot older than you guys. We went to see Sonny Liston on closed circuit against Floyd Patterson twice. For a kid with a short attention span, it was perfect, because the fights lasted a minute and a half each. Yeah. And I thought, Liston's going to kill Cassius Clay then. And Clay's talking trash before talking trash had been invented. And so I listened to that fight on the radio, and I was just mesmerized. So to meet him and have him be a cool guy, go up to little kids and assume a boxing stance, go up to the women, flirt with them, play with the kids. I thought that's really cool. And I only got that one question, but I'm glad it wasn't a boxing question. And I thought it was a heck of an answer.
Great question.
Yeah, and even greater answer.
You're right.
What about Jordan?
Michael, he was aware at all times that he was Michael Jordan. You know, he said, when people see me shopping at Harris Teeter, and he goes, I don't shop at Harris Teeter. I mean, he couldn't go. Like, I was doing a radio show in Chicago, and they said, like, what's it like when, like, Michael goes to get a pedicure? And I said, he doesn't. And they said, why not? I said, because men in Charlotte do not get pedicures. Anyway, he might. But you didn't see him in public much. But he would go to a bar at Selwyn Pub, and they had a special parking place for him when he did come in once a month. They had a special entrance for him. But he was funny. He was interested. And he asked about me. A guy named Taylor Zarazar, you've heard on the radio, does a lot of golf, really good guy. He's the voice of the Tennessee Titans. And he ran at Jordan at a golf tournament. And Jordan said, what happened to Sorensen? And Taylor Zarazar came up to me and he said, man, you got to be flattered. The greatest basketball player of all time asked about you. And I said, LeBron James asked about me.
Oh, my gosh. Gotta go.
I was being sarcastic. I just wanted to.
I was about to say, like, you can't say that to people our age. Like,
we saw it.
No, I went back and watched tapes of Jordan, and the difference in quickness. You're not stopping that guy. And he was a great defender.
And I never saw him take a flop.
No.
And I never saw him get touched like this and lay down on the ground and look to see if the referee was going to call a foul. There's just a lot of things.
He's not doing that.
That new generation guys.
He was a fighter.
Yeah.
He was going to fight until he won, so whatever it took. So I would just watch some documentaries on him and with all the guys that he had played with and stuff. And apparently, man, that joker was like, there was not a rest. You didn't take any breaks. Like you were getting better all the time. And if you weren't, he'd make you regret it.
He was on you.
I think it's great that he recognized who you were and what you were. You know what I mean? Like I was
surprised.
I'm not. I mean, not at all. I don't think anybody in the Charlotte metro area would
plus
think
you got to remember when in those days, the Charlotte Observer was bigger than Charlotte. Right. I mean, it was basically all over the state. I mean, it was sent out to other counties, other cities. Remember how back in the Sunday paper used to be that thick, because that's when people did paper advertising and the special interest stories, and that's how you got your information.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. What I know you have some stuff that you want to ask him too before we move on.
No, I mean just images from my childhood. I remember you're on the front page of the sports section. You were the left hand side about that wide from top to bottom was his column, and that's what I would. That's the first thing that I would read. I didn't Thank you. I'd throw the front pages. I'd find the sports section and the comics. That's right. But just those memories, that are forever etched in my mind. It was a different world. I think it was a better world.
Absolutely. So tell us about how you grew up, Tom. Like what developed this great man that you are? Like what?
There's nothing else I could do. No, I wanted, like I said, my grandfather, my dad's dad owned a drugstore. You're a kid, you go out there. You guys pick out, I have 4 younger brothers, but pick out a toy. Okay. And so I just thought that's what pharmacists do. They pick out toys. Yeah. And then I realized, like I said, my dad tried to major in pharmacy and people would have died. He ended up majoring in English and worked for the Minneapolis Tribune. And I'd go down there as a kid. The desks would be messy. Back then, they would have the office bottle. They would keep a bottle of booze in their desk, and they would go to a bar, the newspaper bar called the Little Wagon. They'd have a page proof, the exact size of the page, and beer here, shot here, pen here, page proof there. And I thought, damn, they get paid for this. And I liked writing, and my dad told me I could write. And I just liked doing it. I started in college, and I wanted a job. I didn't want it to be theoretical, like, hey, I majored in journalism. I wanted a job. And so I worked part-time for the newspaper in college, wrote for the college paper in college. And so I got lucky, man. 4 days after I left college, I walked to my first newsroom. 2 years later, into the biggest paper in that part of the country. And then I wanted to leave the West or South. I wanted something new. I wanted something warmer. And I did not want the Northeast. I didn't want New York. I didn't want Boston. I didn't want Philly. Didn't want Chicago in the Midwest. I just didn't want a big town. I wanted open space, which you have. I just wanted to be able to breathe. And so I wanted something new because nobody in my family had ever left Minnesota. It's like the boat came over from Europe, went down the Mississippi, pulled up, and they were stuck. They laid anchor. Yeah. And then so Charlotte advertised in the national newspaper. And I didn't have any sports experience or very little. And they hired me. And only time I thought about leaving was for New Orleans because my kids are going, Dad, go. Because they liked it. We went there on vacation. And I'd bring them every season and let them pick one road game to come with me. And they'd pick an expensive one. But it was just a neat way to make a living, There were long days. You'd have to talk to people who didn't want to talk to you. And I'd fail. I mean, I'd read stories. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and think, oh, my God, his name's Eric. What if he spelled it E-R-I-K? And then I'd get the morning newspaper. Oh, okay, I spelled it right. Yeah. But I'd wake up I'd had the 4 a.m.s. You wake up at 4 a.m. and you'd think, I screwed that up. And sometimes I did. I'd read what I wrote and I'd think, what's your first language? Because it ain't language. It ain't English. Yeah. And But I tried, and I enjoyed it, and I got to do it.
Well, speaking of this area, one of the greatest sitcoms, I guess is a sitcom.
Yep.
That in our childhood was the Dukes of Hazzard. So I don't know
Daisy.
if you're, yeah, that's right.
Well.
So Daisy used to live right down the street. This in a little Unionville, North Carolina, where you're at right now, just a couple miles, just through the woods right there, is where the Dukes of Hazzard were, the real Dukes of Hazzard were, that the story was based off of. So we're doing a series right now.
Whoa.
And we've got local, family members and people that ran with Jerry Rushing was his name.
That's terrific.
And so we're doing a series about that right now that'll be coming out soon. So we're just excited about that.
God, if you film it someday and I can visit.
Oh, man, count on that.
Yeah.
You go bring
my own Daisy.
I was going to say, for those that can't see, Tom is a very lucky man, and his young lady that he brought with him really makes him look a lot better.
No, because I'm going to stand next to her. I look worse.
Oh, yeah, you gotta, from a distance, you got to.
That's right. We got that, and then
That's cool.
we're bringing Coach Jester coached right here at Piedmont too before he went to Independence.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So we're excited to have him coming
He is
on
a
too.
big name.
He's in our era, and people still, the respect that man demanded
And received.
and received. And I tell you, I was wrestling for him my freshman year in high school, and he and I were about the same size, so I got to get a beat down every day. And one day I thought I was going to get cute, and I threw legs in on him.
Ooh.
And Jester did not like legs. Like, he thought that was a sissy wrestling. And now, it's times have changed, but I threw the legs in, and all of a sudden, that red face, he said, you want to play legs, do you? And boy, that was the worst. I never again until I was wrestling for somebody else did I ever do legs again. But he was just the kind of guy that you'd run through a brick wall for, just a true motivator.
One of the things that we're really trying to focus on, and you probably remember Andy Tomberlin, even though he was a Union County guy, basically went to a Braves, walked on a Braves tryout, had about an 8 or 9 year career in the major leagues. And we got,
I know the name, but
we got Caleb Serat, who is,
oh yeah,
and he's been on, he went to Singapore and then he was doing something up in DC, but him and his dad, we've known his dad for a long time, good people. And then Hunter Tyson, who was a Piedmont High School basketball player, went to Clemson and is now playing for the Nuggets. And then Sam, we mentioned earlier, we're trying to get.
It's a good
We're
guess.
just trying to recognize the local guys that have really not just made it big, but they're guys of character too.
So let me tell you,
I like that.
Tell you a quick story about Caleb's dad. So we were playing in a Captain's Choice tournament for the whatever it was. Well, Caleb's dad was he came in like third or fourth or something in the world's longest drive contest. So we got him to come play with us.
That's a good guy to have with you.
Yeah.
You're putting on par fours.
Literally, we were putting like the first, I think we were on like hole number 6 of the course we were on before we ever got anything out of bag besides a driver and a putter. He was putting it on the green. But I'm aggravating anyway. I like to joke around and pick. So if he had seen me with Chris grew over putting, so I'd take the drive him a putt or something, and poke him between the legs or something while he was trying to putt.
And we're on the same team. I mean, make sense out of that.
So Brett, he got up there and was putting, and he almost started putting. Well, he had laid his sand wedge down behind him. So I didn't really know him that good, but other than what he was seeing me do to Chris and us cutting up and stuff. Well, he looked at his putt and he backed up a few steps and he stepped right on his sand wedge, and that thing came straight up and hit him between the legs.
Oh.
And he jumped around and looked me straight in the eyes. He thought that I slapped him, but it was hilarious. But what a great guy he was, man. I think we won the tournament too, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, you're eagling almost every hole.
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't have to, unless it was a par 5, we literally didn't have to hit more than a driver.
All we were doing, there was 3 of us showing him lines, and then the rest was him. That was it.
I remember him telling us then, his son was like 12, and we were bragging on him, and he said, "Where do you see my son? He's next level." And everybody thinks that about their kids maybe at some time or another. But he wasn't exaggerating. He might have been underestimating it at the time. I mean, because Caleb is elite.
He really is. He's solid as they come. But then we've been pulling for him, like you said, since he was 12. So we like seeing the local people do good, you know, and get a chance because it's so hard, you know. And back in the day when we were growing up, it was almost impossible, you know, this is another thing I want to ask you too. I don't know what Olympics it was. We had a local guy here that came in. He got a bronze medal in the triple jump. You remember what
Tillman.
What year?
Parkwood?
Parkwood.
I went to the one in Australia. That's the only one I've been to. What year that was? I went in 2000.
Oh, no, this
would have been 84 or 88.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, so you guys had to run in the same circles. What about you and Harold Johnson?
You know, not much, because he lived in Statesville.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he lived out, and I was always in Charlotte.
Okay.
I had a lot of good friends at the paper, but broadcasting guys, not as much. And then, you know, you get married, you have kids, get unmarried, you have kids. But you told one story that reminded me. I took Jeet Kune Do, you know, Bruce Lee's martial art, for about 3.5 years. And it was just one-on-one. And there was a kid there. And the instructor went over to get a drink of water. Kid came running up and he said, Mister, you better get out of here now. The big black guy's going to come back and beat you up again. I said, kid, you're right.
Run while you can.
He was trying to help you out.
He was trying to help me out.
Oh, my goodness. Over all the years and all the people that you interviewed over the years, we want to know who your favorite interview of all time was and your least favorite interview of all time.
Well, I tell you, the offensive linemen are almost always good because they don't get as much attention. They don't talk trash because they're too busy blocking guys or being blocked or just, you know, you weigh 330 pounds. You got enough to do without talking. But my favorites, Jordan Gross from the Panthers. Also maybe the most underrated player. People always think, well, Cam's the greatest Panther of all time. He's not. Steve Smith is.
Right. I agree.
I would put Pepper second or Kuechly, and then I would put Jordan Gross, and then I would put Cam.
I like that
offensive linemen almost always. And the original Hornets, a team only gets to be new one time, and they were amazing, man. Rex Chapman.
Kelly Tripucka.
Kelly and I, we didn't hit it off as much as some of the other guys. A lot of athletes, and I'm not saying it's Kelly, but they like themselves enough. They don't need me to like them too.
Right.
But man, those guys, Dell was always great and still is. And so is Steph. Seth is more shy, but Steph was always really cool. Oh, it still is. For a guy who gets that much attention, as humble as he is, like I said, all offensive linemen. The Nebraska Mikes, mentor and rocker. Jake Delhomme. Jake, I went down to Jake's hometown, and I said, where do I eat? And I was on my way to New Orleans. I volunteered to drive, and he named 2 restaurants. I got back, and I said, how do you not weigh 300 pounds? Because, man, those Cajuns loaded up. I mean, it's like, I don't need the whole table. Just give me a tray. But they're just some really good guys. In racing, I tell you, a guy who's really classy, 2 of them, Rick Hendrick and Felix Abades.
Right.
Rick has just always been so gracious. You know he's rich, but talking to him, you wouldn't know. And Felix is just so cool. Dale Jr. is really good. Ray Evernham, you know, who was crew chief for Gordon and then owned a team, just a cool guy. He liked boxing. He went to Kronk Gym in Detroit and learned to box as an adult. He'd never done it, but they had like boxing classes. But you know Kronk, Detroit's Kronk Gym is not going to let you slide. I mean, that was Tommy Hearn's gym.
Right.
And Evernham was cool. You can't accept gifts. But after I was out of it, he brought back a Kronk T-shirt for me.
That was really cool.
That's cool. And I'm not cool enough to wear it, but I still have it. just some really good human beings. When you see them now, it's like, you're just Kenny Gaddison.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily remember him, but man, he was just a good guy.
My family had a jewelry store in Charlotte in the 90s, and
as soon as I saw you, I thought, this guy's in a jewelry.
You can tell he's definitely
a while
we
back.
got metrosexual. That's what I call it.
So anyway, back to Kenny Gaddis. Him and JR and Muggsy and another one of the guys that was just a role player. No, well, I did a lot of business with Alonzo, but I was just thinking about the guys that were more like in
Tim Kempton maybe, but I don't see Kempton buying jewelry.
No, he was a big dude, and he hung around a lot with Kenny, and they got about the same amount of playing time. But they would come in our jewelry store a lot, and Kenny was always, and Muggsy, they were both just always super nice. JR is so funny. He came in and bought a Rolex President from us, and he put a little. This was the 90s now.
And now
he
these could go for a couple $100, right?
Yeah. He put a little diamond bezel around the outside of the Rolex. That was like on Thursday or Friday. They were going out of town to play. Monday, he's there waiting on me when we open the door. He's like, "Give me that. What is that? A 4-carat bezel you showed me?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Larry gave me such grief all weekend long. He said, take this little bezel off and put that big one on there so Larry Johnson will leave me alone."
That's hilarious.
They were busting because his Rolex wasn't as nice as theirs.
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Okay, I'm fixing that."
So the most miserable interview.
There was a guy, there's been a few, but there's a guy named Greg Lloyd. He used to play for Pittsburgh. Great linebacker and a tough guy.
Black belt guy.
And he signed with the Panthers for a year. And he was known for not talking to the media, but I thought, I got to try. He wasn't, remember the movie The Water Boy with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
I love that movie. Yeah. He wasn't in there, but Cower was, and Cower mentioned him. So I went up to Lloyd. Man, he was a big guy. And I said, "Greg, you got a minute?" "No." And I said, "I just want to ask you about The Water Boy. You were mentioned in The Water Boy. I want to ask you about that." "Still no." And it was the longest interview he ever did. So I wrote my column. I said, for a complete transcript, just write me in care of the Charlotte Observer.
Yeah.
But it was the longest interview he did because he had no and still no. So 3 words was the record.
That's incredible.
That is amazing. I don't, the NFL, you pay penalties if you don't make yourself available, at least post game. I don't, they have an obligation to do a little bit of media stuff. And I don't know if if it didn't apply to that or he just paid the fine and didn't care. I don't know.
You can hide during the week and you can hide after a game. And there's ways to avoid the media. But typically on Wednesday is when you do it. And then after a game on Sunday. An NHL coach was just fined, like $500,000 or something big time because he's done it before and he just wasn't in the mood to talk, so he skipped out. And but most of the people I've found are good, and they're especially good when it's not who, what, where, when, why. When you can just talk to them. It's one reason I like underdogs. When I was at Panthers training camp, I saw a guy make this fantastic catch. Looked him up. His last name was Hemingway. I'd never heard of him. Played for South Carolina State. So you go up to Cam after practice at Steve Smith Senior. There's going to be 20 people around. Hemingway, it was just me and him. And I said, "Have you ever read Ernest Hemingway?" He said, "Yep. The Old Man and the Pearl." I said, "Man, that's my favorite Hemingway book." He said, "The NFL is my pearl." And I'm thinking, thank you. But there's also dumb interviews where you just have fun with it. I asked the chef at Spartanburg, because they have a cafeteria that's like, it would stretch from here to your pond.
Right.
And they would have the food color coordinated, so they knew if it was fattening or not. But they had this ice cream bar that was legendary. So I asked the chef, "Who eats the most ice cream?" And they said, "Oh, he was a punter." Todd Sauerbrunn.
Yeah.
Right.
And I went to him and I said,
he played for the Bears too, didn't he?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Chicago, I think. But I went to him and I said, all right, tell me the secret for building the Sunday. And he said, all right, Tom, you need a base. You lay, and he took a big bowl and he said, all right, you need your base here. And you have to have a strong base. So I recommend putting 6 to 8 scoops. And then you add the second story. Think of a second story house, Tom. And then you build it up. And then now you're going to want to work in some chocolate here, and some flavors here. If you're into fruit, maybe some bananas or strawberries here. And the trick is then you come back with another layer of ice cream and like fudge.
Good grief.
And I'm thinking, I couldn't carry this.
Yeah.
But he was a punter, man.
Yeah.
And I thought it ended up being, people would call me and say, you're an idiot. You wrote about ice cream. I said, yeah, but as ice cream stories go, it was good.
I tell you, I remember the thing I remember about him now that I remember when he played for the Bears and for the Panthers, he was the first punter I'd ever seen that looked like he had guns. Because, most punters look like Ray Guy.
Right.
They really did. And I remember him, he looked like a lineman. He wasn't tall
It was like a squished down lineman.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a nose guard or something,
So you talked about Flair a while ago. We had Nikita Koloff on a couple weeks ago.
Nikita.
Yeah, man, he's great. But so you've had some interaction with Nikita, and I want to hear that story.
I would write one wrestling column a week, and for whatever reason, it took off, and it was in the. I worked for the Observer, but I wanted a column. There was Ron Green went from the News to the Observer, so I went from the morning paper to the afternoon paper, and I wrote one wrestling column a week, and wrote about Nikita. I can't remember what I wrote. Made fun of Russians or something, Comrade, I said, you're too tan to be Russian. I can't remember what I wrote. It was stupid, but it was intentionally stupid. Sometimes, a lot of times, it was accidentally stupid. But Nikita's on the John Boy and Billy show, and he's going, Tom Sorensen, I will find you. And I'm thinking, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And he was a funny guy. He still is, I'm sure. Well, you had him on. He was great.
Oh, yeah, man.
Very articulate.
He actually had me come on do his podcast a month or so ago. I don't know when it's going to air soon, I guess. But I guess he wanted to have somebody on that nobody knew at all. But we had a good time on there, and it was really good. But he's man, I knew him. We used to own a World Gym there in Concord, and so he had already sold his gym, and he was still living in Concord. So, but he does a lot of fundraisers and stuff for folks.
I can see that.
Yeah, he does. And he came over and invited us to some of the things he was doing.
Cool.
And what a great speaker, man. He's really, and he's doing, it's called Man Camp now. So it's basically for, men of all ages, and you go out for a week and just kind of find God out in the wilderness.
Leave your phone in the car.
Yeah. So
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy. The NWA, so the Crockett's and everything. So,
Yeah.
So that's tell us your interaction with all that before Ted Turner bought.
I had a blast with them because they were right here, and you could write anything. I remember Jimmy Garvin and Precious.
Oh yeah.
I wrote, Precious is the best looking woman I've ever been in the same room with. I mean, I just played all that stuff up. If a guy was Russian, he was Russian. There was one wrestler who was from outer space and spoke no known language. So the interview was just making sounds. But then I wrote, remember the animal?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The animal, he just made noises in the ring. I mean, he didn't talk. So I wrote about him. I wrote, he spoke no known language. His wife called. She was livid. He speaks 4 languages. I want a correction. In the ring, he just made sounds like an animal. He spoke 1 language, animal. And she was mad, man. She was mad.
We're talking about the character, not the person.
Right. Yeah.
In this instance.
Oh, yeah. But I wrote about him. I wrote about the characters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because if I wrote, he's an engaging, articulate guy who speaks 4 languages, but not in the ring. And that would have ruined everything.
Yeah.
Tom, we can't thank you enough for coming in. You're an icon.
I want to be here.
You're an icon.
We had so much fun when you promoted that fight. It was such a good promotion.
Man,
Maybe one
And
of
you
these,
got screwed so bad by that church.
that was really tough, but we made it through it. So and now look at us. We're
a lap of luxury.
that's right. We're in here fighting flies and sweating our
How
rear
far
ends
away
off.
from downtown Charlotte, you think?
Probably an hour nowadays.
We took back roads most of the way. We live not too far from 45, so just took 45
To the
and then took the expressway.
Yeah.
And
It's not bad. You can go straight down and get on the bypass here, and you're there no time.
yeah, but it was cool making a left and another left, and then we saw the Balcom Road, and we thought, I think there's 2 Balcoms. I hope to hell there's 2 Balcoms.
Oh,
there were.
Yeah.
You're in Balcomville. down here. So we're going to call that a wrap. And Tom, man, I love you, brother.
If you ever need anything from me, just yell.
Well,
And I won't sweat as much next
I
time.
appreciate you so much.
No, man. Thank
we
you
all
so much.
sweating.
Appreciate y'all watching, and stay Southern, y'all.